Hi Adorners, welcome back to Adornment with Adrienne. Today I'm going to be making up a sweet potato cobbler. I know, something different. And this is also a way that you could also make candied yams if you wanted to do that. If you're interested, please keep watching and welcome back to Adornment with Adrienne. Happy holidays! Let me get my apron and I'll be right back. Welcome back. So we continue, happy holidays, continue our sweet potato series, basically, I guess. And we're going to be making something that's different. It is a sweet potato cobbler. Okay, Adorners, so we continue with our sweet potato tradition. As I said before, sweet potatoes and yams is kind of like a tradition for African Americans in the U.S. Now, I would think that this would be paired very nicely with homemade vanilla ice cream or a butter pecan. If you have people in your family who are maybe older, who really love certain homemade dishes, I think they might really love this. I have my apron, and so what we're going to do is we are going to make a pie crust. Actually, we're going to be making a crust for the bottom and the top, okay, of our cobbler. Okay, so what do we have? All right, so let me go ahead. I've kind of prepared a little bit already for this. All right, so we have 3 cups of flour. We need a half a teaspoon of salt, and I usually use Himalayan sea salt. Half a teaspoon of salt, in it goes. And what else do we need? We need 2 tablespoons of, this is actually a half tablespoon, so just so we're clear. All right, so we need 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm just gonna get it right out of the pack here. Sprinkle it in. This is all going in our flour. That's 1. We need 4. 2, 3, 4. All right, and so I'm gonna whisk this together, and then we're gonna add in a cup of shortening. Okay. All right, so let me get my whisk, and I'll be right back here. All right, so I'm just whisking all of our ingredients together. These are all of our dry ingredients. I'm just gonna whisk these together. Okay, Adorners, so I'm back. So I've whisked together our flour. We have our flour ready. Flour's ready. And I'm going to use a fork to go ahead and cut in our cup of shortening, okay, or crisp. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna cut in our shortening. Okay, and I have my cup of shortening. And then we're gonna add some cold water to this, okay? I have water that I have chilled in the fridge. So let me go ahead and get our shortening out. Now, you know, shortening can be a little expensive of late. So if you need an alternative, then, you know, you can always use a large Mexican block, Morel. It's a Morel. It's called Morel. It's usually right in the baking section too. So like if you need an alternative and you don't want to spend but a couple bucks on your shortening for stuff, or maybe you're on a budget, which could be the case for most of us, you can definitely use Mexican shortening. Please be aware that it is made with pork. It does have some pork in it, okay? Whereas Crisco is just plain vegetable, okay? So, all right, so I've added in my shortening, and I am going to go ahead and cut this in using a fork. Now, I could use my fingers to crumple this in, but I'm going to use a fork if I ever get that fork. Okay, so let me get that and I'll be right back. Okay, Adorners, so I'm just gonna go around my bowl with my flour. Okay, so I have 2 forks, all right? And this is especially for our ladies or those who have had their fingernails done. All right, we don't want to be messing up our nails, right? We want to cut in our shortening. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in a 1/4 cup of cold water. This water has been chilling in the fridge, all right? And some people actually, when they do all of this, they chill their shortening or their butter and all that, but this is an old school recipe. They didn't have all that back then. So we're just adding in a 1/4 cup of cold water. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it old school. I'm going to kind of make a well, which means I'm going to make like a hole in the center of our flour. Let me show you. You see that? Like a little hole in the center of our flour, and I'm gonna pour my water in there, and then I'm gonna mix it all together. All right, so let me do that. Let's go ahead and pour our cold water in. We have a 1/4 cup of cold water. In it goes. All right. And we're gonna just mix that. Bring the sides down. All right, mix it. Okay, Adorners, so you can see our dough starting to come together. Okay. And I am going to go ahead and flour my cutting board. This will actually make 2 pie crusts. So we're going to put one on the bottom of our cobbler, and then we're going to put one on the top. I might do a little bit of lattice work. We'll see. Okay, so let me go ahead and get my flour for our surface, and we're going to roll this out, and I'll be right back. Okay, Adorners, so I've gone ahead and I floured our surface. Okay, and I have a rolling pin. I have several rolling pins. Well, actually I have a couple rolling pins, and this is my wooden one that I trusty had for so many years. I'm going to go ahead and add a little flour to it. And so now what I'm going to do is I have our dough mixture. I'm just going to scrape it out onto our floured surface. Okay. And I'm going to see if I can get everything out of the bowl. Right? All right, so we want to get it all out for our cobbler. Okay, Adorners, so I've gone ahead and I've taken my dough mixture, so beautiful, easy, and I've just poured it out or scraped it out onto our floured surface. And right now I am taking a little time to create a ball. This recipe is actually for a top crust and a bottom crust for our cobbler, right? I hope you all know that I'm really actually just cooking for entertainment purposes. I'm not really cooking for other people. I'm not really cooking for other people when I'm cooking. I'm just cooking for YouTube. Most of the time. Every now and then I might share something with someone, but for the most part I'm just cooking for YouTube. And sometimes I don't eat it. Sometimes I freeze it and I eat it later. You know, it depends on, you know, what the recipe is and that kind of thing. This is forming a nice ball. This is an old school recipe. This is like an old mama dip type recipe, okay, that we're doing here. And I know a lot of people say to chill your butter or chill your flour or chill your Crisco, or everything got to be chilled, the cold water and everything. But, you know, if you have to think about back in the day, people didn't really have, sometimes they didn't even have a Frigidaire, as they used to call them. They might not even have had a Frigidaire. So they use cold water. And that's what we're using today, okay? This recipe doesn't call for that, okay? All right, so let me show you. All right, so we have our dough forming up. A few crumbs around. All right, be careful. A few crumbs around. Scrape anything that's sticking to the cutting board up. And I'm going to reflour this surface. Okay. I'm going to need a little bit more. And then I'm going to reflour our surface. And then we're going to cut this in half. And then we're going to roll out our bottom crust. Okay? Alright. Alright, Adorners. So I've gone ahead and I added some more flour back down to our surface here. We need that flour, don't we? Got some ground ginger and my salt falling over. But it's alright, isn't it? Okay, Adorners. So I've gone ahead and refloured my surface. Alright, this dough is doing pretty good, I would say. Alright? Yeah. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to evenly cut this in half. And I'm just going to do it with my, I'm just going to eyeball it. Some people need to measure or whatever, but I don't do that. I'm more of a home cook. I think I said that before. Alright, so we're going to cut this in half. I'm just using my scraper really quick because it's already here. We're going to sit this to the side. I have a rolling pin. I get like this and I'm cooking and stuff and I want to sing. Do y'all sing? Y'all have singing people in my family? My mother, when I was growing up, was in a gospel quartet. I don't know if you know what that is, but oh, my daddy and them used to sing up and down the East Coast. Get invited to singings and anniversaries, and they had their own anniversary. They actually cut a record. They actually made a record, my daddy and his group back in the day. My little daddy singing in the quartet. Well, you came. Grew up around music. I grew up around women who cook. Just such a blessed experience where I've gotten to know so many different types of people and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, my father was in a gospel quartet, honey. And so were my grandparents, his mama and daddy. My grandfather and my grandmother both also were in a quartet. So they was singing, like practicing in the basement. And these are singing people. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so we're rolling out our crust. You might look at me and you would never think that I grew up around people that sang in the quartet, but I did, honey. Yes, I did. And I actually enjoyed it. I really did. Well, okay. I'm a huge fan of Lee Williams, and I'm a huge fan of Lee Williams, and I'm a huge fan of Canton Spirituals, believe it or not. I grew up Mighty Clouds. My daddy and them actually sang with the Mighty Clouds one time with his group that he was in. You sing, honey, all day. Sing all day. One of my favorite memories of my daddy's sister, my Aunt Fanny, was her singing in her living room when my daddy was playing the keyboard. My daddy can pretty much play anything by ear, the keyboard, the piano, the guitar, the bass. He can play any instrument almost by ear. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but one of my favorite memories as a child is my auntie, my Aunt Fanny, who's not here anymore. That's my daddy's older sister. Singing in her living room, singing Walk Around Heaven all day. All day. She was singing that song, honey. That's the first time I ever heard that song. She was in her living room. My daddy was on the keyboard. And they was singing up something. You hear me? So, they love to sing. So, they be singing. Alright, so, I know people probably don't think that about me. But, you don't know me. So, let me stop. That's the old lady in me that be saying that kind of stuff. Alright, so pie crust is coming along so nicely. I'm probably some of that I'm gonna cut out and some of them I'm gonna keep, but I know people are like, we got our crust coming along here. Gonna turn it over and alright. Now I can't stop singing. Okay, Adorners, so I've gotten that rolled out and I cut off my edges of our pie. This is gonna be our bottom pie crust for our pan. Okay, Adorners, so I've gone ahead and rolled out and cut off our bottom crust a little bit. Alright, I don't want to make it too thin because I ain't gonna be able to move it. Alright, so I have my 12x9 Pyrex dish. Okay, Adorners, so I have my Baker's Release pan. It may not need it because of all that oil shortening, but just in case. We want it to come out of our pan, don't we? I have my oven already preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit here in the US. And I'm just gonna go ahead and move. You better move. Move. Alright, Adorners, so I'm cutting up our potatoes into about 1/4 inch rounds. And I'm going ahead as I cut them and add them to my pan. Alright, I washed and peeled my potatoes. Now, if I was cooking these for a stove weeknight candy yams, like when I was growing up, as I said, we used to always have to cook. And sometimes we would have candy yams or candy sweet potatoes probably at least once a week on the stove. All right, and this is how we would cut them. Let me show you. We would slice them on an angle to a nice thickness, but not too thick. All right, and they would be cut on a diagonal. More like this. They would be cut on a diagonal. Okay, and that way it wouldn't take as long for them to cook. Some people cut them into cubes and squares, but in our house we didn't do that. We cut them on an angle when we were cooking them on the stove. And that way they will cook up in 45 minutes or less. Okay, nobody don't have time for the weeknight candy yam be sitting there all day for them to be cooking up. All right, so I've gone ahead and scattered these all over my pan where my potatoes are in my crust. I'm gonna show you real quick. Let me just go ahead and show you. All right, now it's time for our seasoning. We're gonna put our sugars and our brown sugars and our butters and everything in there, and I'll be right back. Okay, Adorners, so I'm gonna add in about a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Our recipe doesn't actually call for nutmeg. I just added that in. I would want to have in it. Right. So I have ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and I added in some nutmeg, and then we actually need, Lord, I'm spilling this flour. All right, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. That's white sugar. All right, and then we need a cup of brown sugar. All right, so this is actually a 1/2 cup, so I'm gonna do 2 of these. All right, and then we're gonna whisk this together. And we're gonna need a heaping tablespoon of flour. Okay, Adorners, so I've already added in 1/2 tablespoon. I'm gonna go ahead and add the other one was heaping. Gonna go ahead and add that, and I'm gonna mix this all together, and I'll be right back. All right, Adorners, so I'm just gonna whisk this all together really quickly, just turning it as I go. Make sure I get out any lumps if I can. I have a stick of butter. This is unsalted butter that I've already had sitting out for room temperature. So I just want to make sure I get it all incorporated, especially with that flour and the sugar. Okay. Now, if you'd like a nice glossy crust, we can whisk together 1 large egg, maybe a little bit, just 1 large egg, tiny little bit of water maybe, and we can brush that on. And we can brush that on our crust when we get ready. And then add some sugar and cinnamon, be real pretty. So let me show you what we got here. It smells really great, actually. I'm gonna take this and we're gonna distribute it over our potatoes that we have on our crust in our pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour that. You probably can't see it, but I'm gonna try to get it all evenly distributed. Ooh, it's a lot. Make sure you get it all on. Try to evenly distribute it on all sides. We look like we got sweet potatoes on the beach, don't we? All right. And so what we're gonna do is we are gonna add in a cup of water, 1 cup of water to this as well. Okay, let me get that. All right, Adorners, I have a cup of water. I'm so not a night owl, huh? I'm gonna go ahead and add it in the corner over here. Gonna pour that in. Let that work its way in our cobbler. Okay, Adorners, I have just a little bit of ground clove. I'm gonna sprinkle that real lightly over my cobbler. So we already have our butter already. Kind of, it's not quite room temperature, but it's not quite melted, okay? And we are gonna, got a friendly visitor in here. All right, and we're gonna cut it on. So we need 3/4 stick of our butter. We're just gonna add our pats in all over. Right. Just cutting them and putting them on in. Just dotting it, and it's we're basically dotting our sweet potatoes, aren't we? Cutting it, putting it on in, cutting it and putting it on in. Cutting it and putting it on in. I'll let you all see this in just a minute. I'm actually just slicing my second crust and creating more or less a diagonal crisscross lattice work. For our pie. Okay, Adorners, so you can see what I've gone ahead and done with our cobbler. And I am going to go ahead and sprinkle this with some sugar, a little bit of water and some sugar. Alright, Adorners, so I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle this. I got a half tablespoon of sugar. I'm just going to sprinkle it over my crust. I actually dotted it with a little bit of water. I think this would also be good with like a crumble topping. Alright, so let me just show you. Alright, and so we're gonna put this in the oven on 375 for 40 to 50 minutes. Okay, Adorners, so I've gone ahead and put our cobbler in the oven. It's gonna stay in there for 40 to 50 minutes. I'm gonna set it for 45 minutes. Alright, and I have a baking sheet underneath it just in case there's any spillage. Alright, and we're gonna let it cook and we'll be back.
I would suggest adding another half cup of water and letting this cook for at least an hour and a half.
Okay, Adorners, so our sweet potato cobbler is done. I'm gonna go ahead and scoop some out and with some butter pecan ice cream. I will definitely say that you will definitely need to add some more water. I'm pleasantly surprised at how this tastes. I have to say, I'm very pleasantly surprised at how this ended up tasting. I'm gonna scoop some out with some. I'm gonna go ahead and scoop some out with some butter pecan ice cream, and I'll be right back. Okay, Adorners, so you can see how it sliced up really quickly. Put some in a bowl. It's hot, and I am going to add some. Have me some in a bowl, and I'm gonna add me some butter pecan ice cream to this. Okay, Adorners, so I've gone ahead and scooped out a scoop of butter pecan ice cream along with our sweet potato cobbler, and I'm pleasantly surprised at how this came out. Okay, so anyway, enjoy.
As always, thank you for joining me with Adornment with Adrienne. I'm your girlfriend or your auntie of lifestyle and decor. And as always, instead of saying goodbye, say saving hello for another time. See you in the next video. Please be sure to click like and subscribe. Happy holidays.